Hello, people. Alright, well, if you've seen part 1 of my video, then you've heard me talking about people complaining about TV nowadays, and why I find it annoying, and why it's such a waste of time. Now, here is part 2. And this time, it talks about people complaining about Nickelodeon. Now, to be honest, I did not know when Nickelodeon was first criticized. You know, it could be in 1999 when SpongeBob SquarePants first came out. Could be in 1991 when the Nicktoons first started. Or heck, it could even be in 1985 when Nickelodeon first launched their orange logo. Yeah, well, in the earlier years before 1985, it was their pinball logo. But whenever Nickelodeon was first criticized, what I do know is that it's just annoying. Now, I gotta say that I do prefer 90s Nickelodeon shows over Nickelodeon of today, but what I gotta say is that I don't see a huge difference between Nickelodeon of today and during the 90s as far as the type of shows that they aired. Cause you know, Nickelodeon during the 1990s, they aired like teen shows and Nicktoons as well as today. You know, the only thing that Nickelodeon during the 1990s aired that's not on Nickelodeon today is like the reruns of the older cartoons, such as Alvin and the Chipmunks, Inspector Gadget, Muppet Babies, and all those shows. Now, Nickelodeon during the 1980s, there's a huge difference from the programming that they aired back then and in the 90s. You know, it's like Nickelodeon during the 1980s aired like educational shows and shows from international countries, such as You Can't Do That on Television and Danger Mouse and Count Duckula, and some of the animes that were on the early days of Nick Jr., such as The Noozles, Mapletown, The Adventures of the Little Koala, and then their first original show came out in 1984 titled Out of Control. And then later on, they made more original shows, such as Double Dare, Finders Keepers, Total Panic, and all those shows. Now, I gotta say that I did like SpongeBob SquarePants during the first 3 seasons, and I really liked it when it was first on, but then after the movie came out, well, actually I kind of liked the movie, but after season 4 came out, then I started to lose interest. But hey, the show is still popular today amongst kids. And, you know, as long as the show is still popular to kids, it's gonna stay on the air. I just know it. You know, just when it loses its popularity, then that's when it'll end. That's just like what happened with Rugrats. You know, Rugrats was popular for like 12 years. It was popular amongst kids, and then later on, well, I started to lose interest in Rugrats after Kimmy came along. Then later on, they ended it. It lost its popularity, and that's when that show ended. Now, also, I do like Fairly Odd Parents. During like the first 5 seasons and stuff, you know, they had some pretty clever stories for me. But after season 6 came along, when Cosmo and Wanda introduced their new baby, Poof, I started to lose interest. Now, you know, it's like... Now, while I do prefer shows like Rocko's Modern Life and Ren and Stimpy over shows like Back at the Barnyard and El Tigre, I gotta say that my favorite show on Nickelodeon that aired in this decade, in the 2000s decade, I would go with Invader Zim. Because that's one of my favorite Nicktoons. One of my favorite Nicktoons to air on Nickelodeon. And I gotta say, it's an awesome show. I really love Invader Zim. I have the first volume on DVD. Now, as for the live action shows go, you know, it's like I do prefer shows like Clarissa Explains It All and Keenan and Kel over shows like Zoe 101 and the Naked Brothers Band. But I gotta say that Drake and Josh is sorta good. You know, Drake and Josh is actually kind of a decent show. You know, it's like, I enjoy some of the episodes on that show. It's not something that I would rush over to watch. You know, it's sort of like today's version of Keenan and Kel. And also, Ned's Declassified is pretty good also. I like that show because of its moralistic values and stuff. And yeah. So yeah, I do prefer Nickelodeon of the 90s than Nickelodeon of today. Don't get me wrong. That's how nostalgic I am. And I know that the kids of today will have their own memories of Nickelodeon now. I gotta say that I do like the newest show on Nickelodeon. Their newest game show, My Family's Got Guts. Oh, heck yes! A revival of Nickelodeon's Guts from the 1990s. That is so awesome. I love that show. I love My Family's Got Guts. Because that is a really good revival from the 1990s Guts. And now, I know how much you guys miss the old Nickelodeon shows, but, you know, a good idea is to get the shows on VHS and DVD. Wait, whatever classic Nickelodeon shows are out on DVD, well, let's check them out. The first out of the classic Nickelodeon shows to be released on DVD is the Ren and Stimpy show, which that got released because Spike TV aired Ren and Stimpy. They aired the adult party cartoon, and they also aired the classic episodes. And since Spike TV was airing Ren and Stimpy, they later on released DVDs of that show. This DVD set includes the first 2 seasons, which is the episodes from when Spunko was still producing the show. Later on, after season 3, it has been moved to Gaines Animation, the same company that was making episodes of Rocko's Modern Life. And so, later on, they released the complete series of the Ren and Stimpy show. And now the complete series is out. You know, it's time for you guys to buy them. This here contains the first and second seasons, my favorite episodes of the show. You know, I prefer those than the episodes that's currently airing on Nicktoons Network, which is all the Games Animation episodes. So, later on, Nickelodeon made the Nickelodeon Rewind collection. And so, out of all the DVD sets that they released, so far, they only released the complete first season of Clarissa Explains It All. And it was released the same time season 1 of Pete and Pete was released. And then, later on in 2005, season 2 of The Adventures of Pete and Pete was released. And Clarissa Explains It All was originally going to be released the same time season 2 of The Adventures of Pete and Pete was released on DVD. But later on, season 2 of Clarissa got delayed and eventually cancelled, which is a shame too, since The Adventures of Pete and Pete season 2, or season 3 that is, season 3 of The Adventures of Pete and Pete was originally going to be released on DVD in spring 2006, along with season 1 of You Can't Do That on Television and season 2 of Clarissa Explains It All, but that got cancelled. So, pretty much the explanation beyond the cancellation of the Nick Rewind collection was that the sales were not doing very good. You know, it's like some people would think that they would wait for the other volumes to come out, but you know, it's like good sales would mean that for the other volumes to be released on DVD. You know, if a show gets low sales on a DVD release, then the other volumes might not even happen. And so, because of that, it's like the Nick Rewind collection got cancelled. And so therefore, season 3 of The Adventures of Pete and Pete never got released on DVD. Season 2 of Clarissa Explains It All was never released, and season 1 of You Can't Do That on Television didn't make the light of day either. So therefore, the whole Nick Rewind collection just got scraped off the roof and cancelled. Now, while they did cancel the Nick Rewind collection, they later on put a Nick Rewind section on iTunes. And so they put up Nick Rewind Volume 1 and 2, while just recently they put up a Nick Rewind Halloween. And now they have seasons of Doug, Hey Arnold, Rocko's Modern Life, Our Real Monsters, Clarissa Explains It All, and Hey Dude. Holy crud, Hey Dude! I am so downloading this on my iPod. So I click buy an episode, and then I purchase it, it'd be downloading, and then I sync it to my iPod, and there we go. I got an episode of Hey Dude on my iPod. Now last, Nickelodeon has struck a deal with Amazon.com just recently, and now they are making DVDs on Amazon.com of some of their classic Nickelodeon shows. They have seasons 1 and 2 of Doug, seasons 1 and 2 of Hey Arnold, and the best of Rocko's Modern Life Volume 1 and 2. Alright, well, I have a lot more to say, but we have run out of time. So, stay tuned for Part 3, as I go over people complaining about PBS. Oh yeah, that's gonna be on Part 3, so stay tuned.